It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually, farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died. Experts agree unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere.
The mission of the Pandemic Emergency Board is to provide recommendations to deal with the major global challenges arising in response to an unfolding pandemic. The board is comprised of highly experienced leaders from business, public health, and civil society.
We could be looking at double the number of cases in 1 week and 16 times as many in a month if we are not able to stop the spread. That would be on the order of 500,000 cases, and it would continue to rise exponentially. In 3 months, we could be approaching 10 million cases.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
The point of today's video, hopefully, will be to demonstrate the ways in which the globalists get together in their private meetings and figure out how to manipulate us. And I'm going to be using more clips from that Event 201 that was held in October 2019 in New York City. These were the organizations that I showed you were part of this Event 201. This was a meeting that was to game out the response to a global pandemic. Wouldn't you know it? A global coronavirus pandemic. Public opinion, the opinion and stance of world leaders, none of that matters to them. None of it matters. All they want is to get their own way. They want to be the only people to give out the messaging on any health-related issues from now on. They want the World Health Organization to basically be like the central franchise of all the hospitals and medical schools and clinics worldwide. These are not productive people. These are middlemen. These are control freaks. They are living off of us. And yet they seek nothing more than to control us, control our every thought, control all the information we hear, to take our money, to undermine our leaders. And I want you to hear it from their own mouths. What do they want right now from us with this coronavirus? What are they really stressing? One of the things is this social distancing. And I'm seeing people pick up this word as if this word's been in their vocabulary all their lives. Look at all the people going along with this. CBC News, now is the time for social distancing. Andrew Yang, we should start practicing social distance. Dan Rather just says, I social distance. So it's become a virtue signal. My friend in Seattle told me that in Seattle their slogan is don't kill your grandparents. So she says if you go out and you do not obey them, it could lead to you killing your grandparents or parents. So you see the game they're playing. It's a game like if you dare to go against this new sudden social norm, well, you're going to be responsible for grave harm.
I think you're right. It's important that the UN and WHO remain very clear. But when they challenge governments directly, they often get into this issue of sovereignty. And so I think it's really important not to have that as the only response. I think it's really critical to think about soft power influence, which is other influentials who can call up the head of state. Or powerful constituencies within those countries. We've seen this in the context of mobilizing religious leaders in the context of polio, or specific business leaders, where you can soften perhaps a very hard line from government through more stealth entry points rather than trying to punish them through the international health regulations or something like that.
He looked mighty proud of himself at the end there. Stealth mode. Let's go into stealth mode. You hear what he said? If we try to push these governments to do things, we run into the issue of sovereignty. Yeah, as you should. Nation states are sovereign. They get to make their own decisions. The people decide which leader's platform they like best, and we choose it, and the leader is supposed to do our bidding. Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and Twitter ask employees to stay away from Silicon Valley and Seattle headquarters as they bunker down against coronavirus. What did that guy say? He said maybe we could get, respected business leaders or others to do things that will influence the world leader who we want to change.
I think it's important to think about what atypical players in the private sector can we bring to bear in this. So bringing multinational pharmaceutical companies to talk about who are self-interested about why their products are safe could be seen as non-credible. But if I think about the champion for TB in South Africa was Nando's Chicken. And so I think as we think about these large atypical players who have no credible vested interest in this issue but have a strong voice that's economically differentiated for their governments as well in their country, they're going to listen to them with some respect, I think will be very important.
Okay.
He admits we can't have the pharma CEOs come out and advocate for this health change, policy change, because everyone would see what was going on if we did that.
How much control of information should there be, and by whom? And how can false information be effectively challenged? And what if that false information is coming from companies or from governments?
Here's a little montage of many members of the panel describing how they're going to get control and keep control of the message. Listen.
I think as in previous conversations where we've talked about centralization around management of information or public health needs, there needs to be a centralized response around the communications approach that then is cascaded to informed advocates, represented in the NGO communities, the medical professionals, et cetera.
You mean centralized internationally?
Centralized on an international basis, because I think there needs to be a central repository of data, facts, and key messages.
My staff have advised me that basically the level of support for travel restrictions is somewhere between 57 and 90%. Now, we all know politicians will be influenced by the general view in the community, but we can use that in a positive way. The truth of the matter
speak to them very clearly in the context of a daily briefing from, in this case, I can't imagine any other institution than WHO being the focal point.
And just to limit or even stop social media would create a huge damage. And we should use it, we should get it on our side, we should work together with them, and we should try to avoid this misinformation.
Add to it maybe by saying that I think one of the things we want to do is work with telecommunication companies to actually ensure that everybody has access to the kind of communications that we're interested in providing, because that's going to be critical for dealing.
So not necessarily, sometimes the healthcare workers, they know something, but if they are not well trained, they might give the wrong information, but also they might say something, oh, I don't know. Even I don't know, that could hurt.
No, I think a complementary tactic, too, is to tap faith-based organizations and civil society and other institutions to recruit them also to basically, almost at a grassroots level, continue to basically have the integrity of the
looping back into the trust barometer, last year in Davos it was released that trust in traditional media sources has grown while trust in social media sources has gone down, specifically after the last elections in the United States. So
the social media platforms, there's an opportunity to understand who it is that's susceptible in what form to misinformation. So I think there's an opportunity.
They want to centralize the message internationally, and they want to filter it down through every possible organization, all the way to their fake grassroots level. They even want to train healthcare providers to stay on message. I mean, why should doctors, nurses, and healthcare aides get to tell the truth anymore? No, the important thing is they say what the WHO, World Health Organization, wants them to say. And that last guy, suggesting that they can use social media to track and figure out those of us who are quote-unquote susceptible to mis and disinformation, yeah, they don't want anyone thinking their own thoughts. They want their thoughts to be in our head. And they have another little strategy which they call flood the zone.
A couple of strategies that are available to us, one of which is the flood strategy.
And flooding good information.
Flood the zone.
Flood.
A manifestation of flood.
Flood good information.
Flood the zone.
They all talked about it. It's very successful. It's basically building an impenetrable wall of noise that reflects their point of view. I'm sure you've noticed it. For example, here's CNN's homepage. It's all corona all the time, with maybe the odd thing that isn't about it. Yet, no, it looks like it's all about coronavirus. Like Joe M. says here, 16 famous politicians or celebrities have come down with coronavirus, or they think they have it. They've made big announcements. And Joe does some math. There are 1,600 cases of coronavirus in the U.S. 1% of those cases, 16, are famous politicians or celebrities. 0.00041% of the population are famous. Per capita, rich people with bodyguards are 2,400 times more likely to contract the virus. He says he's not buying it. Me neither. How would they be exposed if the rest of us aren't exposed? Where have they been going, I wonder? What would make them more at risk? Is it logical that so many of them got the virus? Are the people who they were nearby, are they all in quarantine? I'd like some more details on this. I'd like some more details. Well, there's another thing they've been doing is they've been tracking handshakes, because we're supposed to be doing social distancing, right? We're not supposed to be touching each other. We're not supposed to be touching our faces. We're not supposed to be touching anything. And so now a new sin that they just created is shaking hands. The masculine bluster of Trump's coronavirus handshaking tour. It's so tiresome. The other day they had this same thing with Mike Pompeo. They're like, Mike Pompeo meets with so-and-so and shakes his hand. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone, and like I tweeted, COVID-19 is the new climate change, cancel culture, purity test, scarlet letter, guilty until proven innocent, witch hunt. I cannot stand the totalitarians anymore. They want to modify and manage your behavior. So you need to find out what it is they don't want you to hear. You need to find out why they're putting their message everywhere and flooding the zone so that you can't see past. You're like, what? I'm trying to hear somebody else, but all I can hear is you loudmouths. Well, that's what they want. These organizations want to rule the world, and they want you to pay for it.
So, are we as a global community now finally ready to do the hard work needed to prepare for the next pandemic?